errors and because I'm not worried about money, right? I've been very fortunate. We've got some community partners. I've had friends that donated old flooring and so forth. So I'm able to run all of this with minimal dollars. So with that being said, I would rather focus right now on giving back. So one of the things Shireen had asked about when I asked her to partner, she's like, oh, well, would you do this? Would you do that? And I was like, no, actually, I want to make them for you. And if the board, you all know how much Shireen does for all the schools. But what you probably don't know is from a teacher's perspective, if she didn't do everything that she does and her team, Leah wouldn't have this opportunity, right? Like the machines that she's using, it's because ESD helped us to get these things. I can teach shop classes. I don't know how to get money. I don't know how to do all of that stuff, right? And that's not what I'm good at, and that's not what I want to do. I want to inspire kids. I want to laugh and joke and have fun and do that. I'm good at those things, not the other stuff. So from that standpoint, will we? We have in the past. I still do periodically, but right now my focus is just showing people what we're doing, giving back, and keep moving from there. So, that answer your question?
No, it doesn't.
No.
No, I'm all about marketing money. We in a budget crisis, so I'm all about saving a teacher's job and investing in student scholarship, whether it go back to a student scholarship or a teaching job. That's what I'm all about, money. And so this is the money. I just went to a board and I bought one, a cutting board. This is gifts. I worked in prison where guys made stuff like this and sold it out of the shop. So this is kids' gifts. So I just like it. That's really nice. I like mixed wood too. Yeah. I have it in my house, so I like it. But I appreciate you having all that fun that you don't need, but we need it over here.
And I want to commend you on this outstanding presentation.
Yeah.
Because you showed us the vision from start to finish.
Right.
And it was hard to understand how it was going to come together like a clipboard. But then we saw that, and now the product, and then getting to hold it. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So what's really cool, again, Leah's in 8th grade. And she said she's looking to the next couple of years and looking forward to it. So am I. Again, there's a reason why she's seeing it, right? And I commend her parents sitting over there, right? She's done a phenomenal job. And again, she's in a class with seniors. And when I saw what she did here, I'm like, hey, would you do me a favor? Come out here and do a presentation for me. So it only cost me a Pepsi. Easy.
Maybe we can match that with a cupcake.
Any other questions for Leah?
No, but I got some kitchen cabinets I need to fix. You have motivated me that like I can do this. I was like, now it's a good reminder of when I used the 80 grit and the 220 grit and yeah.
All the ones in between.
Yep.
All right. Does Tony want his?
Yeah.
All right, Leah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. Oh, that's. Perfect. It's got the duck on. Yes. Oh, yeah. I got special use for it. I got special use for that. Thank you.
That's great. Oh my God. Wow.
That's
In
up to you.
retirement, you can write down all the stats.
Yeah.
I have things I have folders for that. It's going on here.
But look, it's two different sides.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Grace.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks on your way out, seriously.
Great job.
All those kids. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm very generous.
Oh. Isn't it talking about the black duck? Is that brown or dark brown or black duck? Yeah,
Do you remember Afro Duck from the
Yeah.
70s?
Yeah, we're talking.
But I think that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real good.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank
Have a good evening.
Bryce. Take care.
Well, I don't know, the agenda
For agenda review, I just wanted to point out that there are a couple of action items, so this is under item 7, matters C and D were added after this was originally posted about a week ago. And so those were, if you downloaded your copy of the agenda early, you might not have seen these. And so,
70 also, there's 3.
oh,
There's
okay.
2 that come out of the executive session, 70 for legislative.
Okay, 7, C, D, and E. All right. The next item for our discussion is the consent agenda. You have it in front of you. There are 2 sets of meeting minutes. And then I believe we've had the HR report handed out to us. So could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. So Maria, I see everyone's hand here. I don't see Nora.
Nora's hand is raised.
Okay.
Sherry, did you raise your, oh, you made the motion,
Yeah,
sorry. Okay, I see 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is the financial report. You gonna do that, Tony?
Yeah, it'll be midnight. Olivia is on vacation for a couple days this week, so I'm filling in for her. The financial report as it appears attached to the agenda is unaudited from last month of December. And the revenues, the year-to-date operating revenues total about 19.5 million approximately, which is 59.4% of the budgeted operating revenues, compared to about 18.6 million or 64.9% through last year at the same time. The expenditures as of the end of December were about 10.9 million, 37.7% of total budget operating expenditures, compared to about 9.6 million last year, which was 37.6%. So the percentages line up pretty closely from this year to last year for expenditures. When we get to kind of how that balances out, right now the ending fund balance is trending, I think, a little less than it was last month. It's currently trending at 6.9% projected operating revenues. And I think the next page has the chart that shows kind of how the money flows there. But again, 6.9% is approximately where it is. I think in my conversations with Olivia, I don't know if that's holding or will increase. I think in some cases we have some districts with transit dollars that may slightly be inflating that a little. I don't want to get our hopes up that we're 6.9 and then we'll be over 7 next month. We'd like to see it trend in a positive direction. But I think when I talked to Olivia, some of the transit dollars we're holding for districts right now may have that a little higher. So we may see it more. Give you a heads up. I know that's not good news, but that's potentially what
Well, then move to accept the financial report.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Do you have any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, Maria, the record can reflect that everyone had their hand up here. And Nora's hand up. Okay. Let's see, the next item is consideration of complaint. The board was in executive session earlier and discussed the merits of this complaint. I believe we're now ready to take an action on the complaint. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I move that we consider the complaint. Should I do 2 motions?
Yeah,
Okay,
we can
so-
do both of them.
And proceed by hiring an investigator to conduct an investigator. Conducting an investigation.
Second. Any discussion?
I would, as before I left the special meeting, it was that we hired an attorney to do this investigation. I object to hiring an attorney, that you hired an independent investigator to do this investigation.
Did your motion specify?
I didn't specify, but well, that was a recommendation to hire, if I need to specify, I can specify.
Okay, so the motion is that we act on this complaint, which is our first decision, and that we proceed to an investigation, and that the investigator we hire be a law. What was that? We have a what?
And lawyer to be an investigator. So do you still second that, Thomas?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, what was Vanessa? Sorry. Down there at the end of the table.
Okay,
Okay, so-
any further discussion?
No, I don't have any further discussion, but please note on the record, I recommend that we hire an independent investigator and not a lawyer.
Well, it would be an independent lawyer, wouldn't you remember?
A lawyer and an investigation are two different things. Lawyers do different than investigation. Lawyers go investigate to find ways to get the results they wanna get for the outcome.
As a lawyer, I will
Investigator,
tell you,
they
as a
remove
lawyer,
their
I will tell you
bias,
that's
they
not
remove.
always true.
And this, I'm not talking about all of it, I'm just saying in these situations of investigation, when you're investigating allegations of this nature, you need an independent investigator to, their lawyers investigate, but it's a difference in fact finding.
Is there any further
You should
discussion?
go with either, I want that for the record though, because it's been coming up more than once in these situations.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, let the record show that Durst, Higgins, Wilby, Harris, Truitt, and Pura voted in favor, and Hamilton voted against.
Chair,
Oh.
or Director Kent.
Let me
She's
just
sort of in charge of
Oh.
figuring
I
that
saw a hand raised for Director Kent, but that was during the vote, but Director Kent, do you have something to say? You're muted.
I see that. No, I think I would like an independent investigator as well.
Okay, duly
So that
noted.
means I'm voting no. I guess that means I'm voting no.
Okay, all right.
Could I get some clarification for the record? I am for their investigation, I'm just not for an attorney doing it.
Okay, we'll ask that be approved. Okay. The next item, item D, is again something that we discussed ancillary to the complaint about a hearing. There's been a request for a hearing from a personnel decision taken, and given the ambiguity of the situation, we had to decide what to do. Is there anyone prepared to make a motion about this?
Do I need to make a motion to say, can we consider this next month? I guess my motion is to table the item until next month.
Whether we grant the hearing at all?
Yes, it seemed like, well,
I mean, this isn't about the timing of the hearing, it's just whether we do a hearing.
okay. I'm not making a motion then.
Okay,
Linda has her hand up.
okay, Linda,
I'll make a motion that we grant the hearing.
okay,
I'll second it.
okay, is there any discussion?
What was the motion?
That we grant a hearing for the person who was, had an adverse personnel action. And this is, best we can tell, there is not a time limit on this, and we will certainly, discuss with the lawyer the wisdom of the timing of this.
Makes sense.
Okay, if we pass it. So all in favor of granting a hearing in this case, please raise your hand. Let the record show that Truitt, Wildy, Harris, Ura, and Hamilton voted in favor.
As well as Director Kent,
Okay, and all those opposed?
Doris Higgins opposed.
Okay. And then we have yet another item, item E. Judy Newman, who is our county's representative on the Legislative Policy Committee, sent a message asking that we designate someone on the board to be, basically to receive messages from her about legislation. I suspect she thinks that this person will tell the rest of us, but she didn't say so. But it's her effort to keep people timely informed about what's going on with the legislature. And so is there anyone who would, I think the best way to start with this, is there anybody who would like to do this? Be the recipient of legislative info?
I mean, I'd be willing to serve, but I also would be willing to support another member of our board, so if anybody's curious.
I'm almost curious. I think you would be well equipped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you would like to be the messenger, I mean, basically you'd be forwarding us the information and we'd be taking action. Sometimes doing is the best way to learn.
Yeah.
What if, or you could, or he could shadow you?
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted.
Okay, well,
I think we're gonna be really happy with anybody who do it.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay,
Judy and I know each other already.
thank you, Thomas. Okay,
great.
a motion to appoint Thomas our liaison to Judy.
A second.
No, you
Oh,
you first.
I move. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand.
I
You
will
can
just
vote. You can vote.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Everyone and all the board members in the room present voted in favor. Did you vote in favor, Nora?
Good.
Okay.
We see you now.
Okay. That was like talk to the hand. Okay. I
So,
think this one's yours.
yeah, next item is the grant proposal, which you have a connection there, or a link to kind of the grant report. What we're looking at here is support for the work that Angie Elstone is doing in terms of suicide prevention with students and basically training for district personnel. And it's a $10,000 grant. It runs through the 26-27 school year, starting in March. And so that's the request here. It's not a large one, but it's one that supports the work that Angie has already been doing. Districts are participating. Any questions I can answer, but something that we are currently doing is nothing. It's not new or added.
So I move to approve the school safety and prevention specialist grant proposal. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the grant to accept the money or apply for the money to support the safety and prevention specialist for district accelerator funds. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. The record shows that everyone in the room present is in favor. And Nora has her hand up too.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, the next item is the second read of I think this is what we call the second section of section J. We broke it down into 3 parts because it's such a large section. And these dealt with policies JFCF to JHFCA. And you'll see that J7E1 are the policies that we're bringing forward to recommend that you adopt the course changes that OSBA sent to our policy committee, and that they're now forwarding to you for the full board.
All right, I move that the adopt the policy updates as presented in section J, JFCF to JHFCA.
Is there any discussion?
I already did.
Oh, okay. You can say third. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand.
Yeah.
Let the record reflect that all the directors in the room raised their hand. Nora?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I appreciated so much when I was going through the readings of how things were added into supporting students in many different ways. That's all. And yes,
How do you vote?
I vote yes. But I was trying to discuss. I was trying to add a discussion.
Okay.
But I
Thank
couldn't
you.
unmute myself quickly enough. Okay.
Oh, next item. So we also have policies that were recommending for deletions in 72. As we dealt with these at the policy committee, many of these, I think quite a few of them were tied up in former policies that dealt with HIV or AIDS that have been incorporated into other policies. So the actual kind of intent behind them didn't disappear. They just became they became part of a bigger medication communicable disease policies. And we also had a couple others that are no longer required by law that were recommended from OSBA to us to
I make a motion that board of directors delete all policies in 2.
I second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Record reflect that all the directors present in the room voted in favor.
I wanted to confirm, Director Hamilton, was your hand raised? Okay, very good.
And I see hence as well.
Yes.
And that's the end of our action items, so I'll turn it over to Tony for discussion.
So the first discussion item is legislative update, and many of you are aware that yesterday the short session of the Oregon legislature began, and it runs, I believe, till March. Maybe said March 8th in the board briefing. I think it goes till March 9th, which is Monday, and March is Sunday. I'm still be working, but March 9th is the official date that it has to end by then. We don't know a whole lot yet from where things are going, but we should know more tomorrow. I think the biggest predictor of where the legislature may end up in terms of being able to fund some programs that may have been targeted for cuts will be based upon what we find out in the Oregon revenue forecast. I'm not exactly sure the time of that, but typically we get some news from our educational associations as soon as they know it out. So maybe by noon or early afternoon, we should know. I'm not predicting on that. I'm not going to gamble or jinx anything, but we're hoping for the best news. Last revenue forecast was not as bad as it was expected. That's the best way to put it. And therefore, there's a little hope that this one runs the same, kind of about the same. If it goes the same way, it could influence the legislature to keep us whole. That's what we're advocating for. Again, that's the advocacy reminder is that we're not really asking for a lot of new revenue in the state school fund. We're asking to hold on to the amount that was promised at the start of the biennium and no mid-term cuts. On the federal level, we received some pretty, I guess, fairly good news considering many of the federal programs. We had a compromise coming out that we heard last week. Funded those federal programs, including Title I, Title II, Title III, at about the same levels as they were funded this year. So that means, as you know, with inflation and how that runs, those are really cuts. But the worry was that those might be cut altogether, or cut a lot deeper. So status quo budgets going forward was considered fairly good news. What we were silent on when this is in a pattern, we see that the information comes out about most of our federal programs, and there seems to be a little silence around Title 1C, which is migrant ed. And so the good news we got last Wednesday, I believe Olivia and a couple of our other teammates were up at Salem for the OSBA, or the 08 the OASBO-COSA combined conference was that Title I-C migrant ed also is part of the compromise receiving funding at the same level. So that's should go forward as expected. There still could be twists and turns that we've seen coming out of the federal moves, but the federal lobbyist was hopeful this would happen. We could see what we saw before is that the money's tied to certain policy, certain policy revisions or certain things we would have to sign on to make sure we adhere to. In the past, some of those have been kind of violations of the law, so we don't sign on them. Oregon has handled those in a way that the Oregon Department of Ed is the one accepting or not accepting those individual districts apply with what Oregon Department of Ed says. But we're hopeful, and it's good news that they're not wholesale cuts. That's time. Any questions about legislation?
To your superintendent's report.
Oh, yes.
There was also the good news that the lawsuit against the teaching, limiting the teaching of what can be taught that our brave 4J joined was dismissed. That's a big deal
Thank you.
Yeah.
for the whole country.
Be very proud of that. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Did you guys get any plaque for that? You know, like nationally? I mean, you always get a plaque, but like from outside the district?
Yeah, there was a few things outside of the district, but really locally, there was lots of support. But yeah, we were the only K-12, public school district that joined in. So I'm glad that that is over and it was spelled out in the Dear Colleague letter has been dismissed.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know it was just a token, but our board did send an acknowledgement to 4J board for taking that risk and, let us know, if something a little more substantial in the future is
Yeah.
useful. But,
Yeah, that was wild. All of a sudden we had an
They say
executive
send
session and we didn't know and we had to make a decision by the end of that night. It was just wild. I just kept thinking, I know it sounds silly, but I was like, John Lewis, be here now for good trouble for us to do the right thing.
How did you all the school districts in the whole country come to be the ones to do it?
Because one of our board chairs is a lawyer.
Yep.
And because she somehow knew somebody and Democracy Forward had been searching, they had AFT and the American Sociological Society, and they had some, higher ed partners, but they could not find anybody in public K-12. And because Jenny's a lawyer, she had heard about it, talked to the superintendent about, can I reach out to them and entertain the idea? But because they were going to be filing it in federal court and there was a deadline, like we basically got told this is a thing and we had to have a surprise meeting we didn't know anything about and make a decision that night. It was very short turnaround. But yeah, that was amazing.
So as far as the superintendent report, just an update on visits to our component school district boards. We visited Springfield, Siuslaw, Cresswell, Fern Ridge, McKenzie, and last night South Lane. And tomorrow night we'll be at Linda and I will be at Eugene 4 days. So those are going well. We're seeing action taken in support of the local service plan so far. Good news. For the Lane ESD, well, a couple of 08 ESD things. I'm going to turn one of them over to Rose, but before that, it came up recently that Lynn Benton Lincoln ESD, which is the fiscal agent for the Oregon Association of Education Service Districts, is no longer willing to do that after this school year. And so 08 ESD is looking for another ESD that would stand up and be essentially the backbone for the 08 ESD operations. What that means is there are 3 employees right now of 08 ESD, the director, program administrator, and assistant. And there's also a contract with the lobbyist right now, with Lori Sattenspill is the lobbyist. And then there's some transactions involving vendors when we have conferences. So looking at that, conferring with Olivia and kind of mentioning to Morgan, it's something that we are going to at least explore and see what that might look like. It would bring a little bit of money into our agency, because OAESD has some money to pay for the fiscal agent. It's not tons, it won't break the bank, it's a little bit. And we're meeting next, I think it's next week, with Sam Breyer, the executive director, to talk a little bit more about that. Also, I haven't yet, but I'll be reaching out to the Lynn Benton Lincoln superintendent just to see what were some of the
Why did
reasons.
they quit?
Yeah, why did they quit? Why you don't want to do this?
How long have they been doing it, Tony?
They were doing it for as long as I've been superintendent of ESD. So they've been doing it for about 9.
You know who did it before then?
I thought it might be Clackamas, but I'm not 100% sure.
I can't remember who it was, but it was just another ESD.
I thought it was Flacco, but
I think so.
Flip it around.
Yeah.
So it's probably our turn.
I'm suspicious.
So it's probably our turn is what they're saying.
Well, no,
What they're hoping
here's the deal, even if, let's say we want to do this, let's say that, I understand that you're suspicious. But let's say it looks like it's something we can handle, looks like, hey, we need to do this, it's something we can, but we think we can, another reason is we think we also, at Lane, play a pretty decent role in the size of what happens at the state. I think we're centered in a place where a couple important cities are in our region, and we've been active participants in OAESD, so it makes some sense that way. But even if we say, hey, we really want to do this and everything looks great, I have a feeling that this time 3 or 4 other ESDs that may feel it happen to ring. So maybe it went from nobody wanting to do it to, I think what I'm hearing through the grapevine is a few other ESDs. I think the workload under the current executive director has been reduced, and so I think that's why it's good. I'll keep you posted on that and let you know if I recommend it. Next item, just to note that Teacher of the Year nominations are open. Yeah, and we have 33 nominations right now, and I think Lorraine County.
Wow.
And we want to get our goal, triple digits. We got a lot of great educators. You saw one of them tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. And is open to educational paraprofessionals.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so if you know a great teacher, a great instructional assistant. I think right now 3 of our ESD teachers are in there, which is great. So anyway, it's open till like February 11th, I think. So you want to pump those numbers up. Okay. And then we have the OAESD Governance Council meeting this Thursday. Rose is our representative, and I'll see some time at her in a few minutes.
Just briefly, just there's some bylaw changes on, how we govern ourselves, and we'll be voting on one and considering another. So I just wanted to tell you what they were. Probably going to vote for them unless you have some strong feedback against it. But there's some bylaws revisions that are on second read, so ready for adoption if we decide to do that. It'll be vote of the Governance Council. And they're just updating some of the roles of the Officers Council so that the Officers Council isn't directly involved in the supervision of a director of government relations, which was the lobbyist that we hired. If I recall correctly, that's just going to be supervised by the director, the executive director, without the need for the government's or the Officers Council to take on that management. Having been on that council, it didn't feel like we really needed to be involved in that the executive director could do that. So just my opinion, I have a problem with that. And then they also added a bit where the Officers Council will approve expenditures or contracts over $24,999, which I know that budget is always an issue, so I think they're trying to keep a little closer control over the budget. So that only gives us more power, as a board, part of that council. So not a concern for me if that's how we want to go. And then there's a new first read that will be coming up. And essentially we used to have like 2 different kind of budgets in OAESD to represent this work that we were doing as a program cabinet, which was representatives of various ESDs in close relationship with a group of folks at the state collaborated together to figure out how to best manage some of the state programs when they roll out. Legislature passed the laws and the ODE does the rules and regs, but then like the logistics of how money actually gets to districts and how we divide up grants. It goes better when there's people actually directly engaged in those grants, informing how to do it. So there's a lot of different things the program cabinet did that, but it was a beneficial step that brought more folks directly connected to schools and students into ODE and helping influence how things operate. And like by my best learning from the creation of that cabinet, which happened while I was a board member, not because of me or anything, but while I was a board member, so I saw it before and after, was that, things like grants that really shouldn't be competitive, because it was stuff that everybody needed to do, we were able to kind of give input and figure out well, if there's not enough money, then how can we distribute it in a way that actually makes sense, makes an impact, doesn't have us competing against each other. So just an example of some of the work that we've been able to do. So anyway, we used to have it as kind of a separate thing. It had a separate budget, and we paid dues for the general budget and dues for the other budget. And they're like, this is just work that we do now, so they just put it all into one budget. So they had to update the bylaws to indicate that we have a program cabinet that's just part of the organization. And so they just added new language about that. And we'll have another chance to look at this. So if there is any feedback, this won't be adopted next meeting. And it adds the position of program administrator to the positions that we have as an organization, which is a necessary role in order to do the work in Salem that we do. Did I get that right? Did I miss anything?
No, I think we're looking at Thursday.
Okay, yeah, so we're gonna look at that on Thursday, and give feedback. If you have any questions or concerns, you're always welcome to talk to Tony or me, and we'll confer with each other and decide on, how we wanna vote on these
We
things.
got one vote.
Yeah. So whoever jumps first. Usually I just say let Tony vote. So yeah, that's it. Governance Council meets 4 or 5 times a year. So it's our chance to participate in, because we're spending a fair amount of money, on OA ESD, so we get involved with governance. Welcome to do it.
Thank you. So that's our report. And Rose's work. I think I have the next item, which I covered in my superintendent report, the going district board visits. So that's already,
That's what's
8C's been handled. And then moving on to 8D, which is the upbeat survey report. You may recall that we surveyed our staff climate and culture in the late fall, early winter, and provided kind of a report on what we're finding, because we're still learning. But Morgan Christensen, our HR work. I think it's also linked in your thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at that, but it's there for reference, and I thought I could kind of just point out a few things in that document that was attached. What I can tell you is we had a fair amount of people that took part in this survey, about 75%, if I remember right correctly, that participated. So that really can help yield reliable data. With that right now, we are just beginning to, or we have been working through the data to try and figure out next steps. Part of this is the whole goal here is to take this baseline data, make some action plans, and then from there move forward. Excuse me.
You think it's a password?
They're in another meeting that went on earlier before. Pardon that. So what I can tell you about the survey, just as a quick overview, is there's 3 different types of surveys for three groups that have been divided up in our agency. It's called the staff survey, and the staff survey itself impacts our classified employees that are in school. So you can think of these surveys as school-based and then non-school-based. The teacher survey, or the license survey, known as our actual faculty, that is for people who are in the classrooms. And then we have the department survey. And so within these 3 different surveys, there are categories that overlap. Each of these surveys has different categories. So our licensed staff, for example, there's 21 different categories. And then in our staff, as well as our department, there's 18 categories. And then with each of those categories, if you can envision a tree or a chart where things flow out, our teachers, there were 66 different types of questions they're asked. There's 49 questions for our staff, and there's 48 questions for our department. So when looking at how to give a report in here, kind of highlight just some general things of the agency, where we are, some strengths that we'd like to dive in further. Eric later is going to speak about our committee, the DEC that you have heard about, our District Equity Committee. We're taking a deep dive into this to go further because the data itself allows us to disaggregate by location, by department, down to how many years you've worked in our agency. We can look at areas of values of I already said that one. Other areas that I've envisioned in my mind, I'm thinking of all the different categories. The biggest thing that we have to keep in mind is if there's a group needs to be clustered by at least 4 or more people. So when it comes to this data, recently, one of the exciting things we've been looking at is all of our management team has been assigned a coach. And that was something that's pretty invaluable. So myself and Olivia, for example, our departments are rather small. I had a team of 3, she has a team of 4. And so we were able to combine our groups to have a coach, and we met with them, and they're an outside coach. They provided us some strengths and things that we need to work on. So this is then things that we looked at our data to understand it. Because what I have here is a large packet that at some point, I'm thinking you might have questions and would like to dive in. And if I were just to give it to you now, this is a really big high level. There's like 26 pages of data, but you might have specific things you would like to know about that would be helpful for me to know as we work with our DEC and our superintendent's cabinet to dive in further. And so, but there's so many pieces with this that came out that is helpful. Like in our department, this snapshot is that we have some strengths. And I was looking at what are the areas that we need to improve upon. And when we look at our staff voice, there's a real great need for wanting further development and having some extra training. So Olivia and I are then taking action plans based on the coach's advice and working with the agency. So that times the rest of our management team are all getting that to work and understand this data. So that's, I think, the highest level I can give. I'm willing to kind of pause to see if you have any questions. I'd like to go down lots of paths, but let me see if I hit some of the curiosities that you might have at this point. Rose?
Well, I thought when I was getting a survey report, I was gonna get a survey report. So I think it might have been a little too high level, because I don't actually have much of a snapshot of how we're doing. So I don't even know what really to ask for.
Okay.
So just as a little bit of feedback, I mean, I appreciate this, but like, if there's a concern about releasing data without context, you know, and taking some time to make sure the results are understood, you know, in context, you know, I'd be happy to wait for that to be available, or, you know, if the equity committee wants to kind of dive in deep and highlight some things, you know, that they think the board should pay attention to, that would be helpful. You know, because I mean, we often wonder, you know, how are we doing as an employer? How are we doing, you know, at the, you know, if workplace, you know, climate and that sort of thing. Some things probably we don't necessarily need to know, you know, or not, but things that are pertinent to the board's decision making, and, you know, understanding just like how we're doing, knowing that most of our input often comes from the people in this room, you know, and so we can do our visits and so on, but there is a certain level of formality that is natural. So I would be interested in seeing whatever data you think is appropriate to share at that high level, you know, and aggregated to protect whatever confidentiality or individuality we want to do.
I think that's the dovetail with the kind of the next report is the DEC, and we're trying to work in coordination with them to be able to share a little more information. So Eric,
I can jump right in. So the District Equity Committee was able to take a look at some high level data across the entire agency at our last meeting beginning next week.
And we really want to start with looking at what are some commonalities between the three groups. That was at the request of the folks on the equity committee. So they could see what are some common questions, themes, or areas for staff, for faculty, and for departments. So really starting up here and then having that opportunity to dig down. And so it takes time to really be able to thoughtfully run protocols and to get into this. So our hope and our goal is to see where we end up at the end of our meeting next week, because we also looked at the educational equity policy JDB, which I'll get to in just a second. So that ended up taking much longer than we had anticipated in really diving into that. And so we had to shorten our time down on the beat survey. But I think there's a lot of curiosity and a lot of ideas around how we can explore into that data. But before we get into some of those potential next steps, we want to have a better understanding of, like, should we do focal groups if we see some trends? Should we, what do we really want to do to be able to extract some of that data? And part of the exciting part is that working with this company, we can also make some shifts. We have to keep a majority of the structure the same, and in the questioning, we might be able to change some words around it to make sure that it's still valid and that it's a national norm, et cetera. So we can look at that data is really important, and also that we can compare data with other districts and districts. So a lot of opportunity there, and we just haven't had an opportunity to understand it well enough to be able to present it. In that sense, I think within a department, with having a coach and that opportunity is there at a high level across the entire agency. So Morgan, for instance, had that opportunity to dive into his area, but as far as across the agency, that's
So we're making progress.
yeah, and so the hope is that we'll have members of the DEC here at the next meeting, because we also would like to come just to be able to present what we've been doing for the school year, what progress we've made, what conversations we've had, and in between that time, be able to provide superintendent and cabinet with the recommendation around the educational equity proposed policy JBB. It's not a mandatory policy, it's an optional policy. And as we dug into this document, we really started having some questions. But we started off with an overview. What is policy? Why do we have it? What's an administrative regulation? So we had to really break down. We have members on the equity committee who typically don't deal with policy. So really trying to get a good understanding of that, and then digging in. And some questions that arose out of this I thought were great. So I was thinking, all right, educational equity committee, like this is going to be like, woo, let's, this is going to be great. And they were also, just to make sure I get this into, very thankful that they were given the opportunity to look at policy. Yeah. So that was just a big thank you to the board. Where the conversation started to go to is like, we like the concept, we like the idea. However, what can we change? And it's like, well, let's talk about that. We have options within the brackets, and you can choose within there. Typically, all this verbiage comes from OSBA and lawyers, and it's kind of set. And there were some concerns around some deficit language for students in there, and then also how an ESD doesn't necessarily have control over graduating all students or whatnot. No. So it was like, do we have a disclaimer? Is there something that we do or don't have control over? How can this represent us so we're not falsely putting something out that someone can say, well, you guys aren't, but you say in policy you do. And so that conversation got us into, could this help guide our editing and revision of the strategic plan, the equity lens, and the work that we're doing across the agency? Because then we could take a lot of what the intent of this policy has and what do we have that we can take into control over and be able to write in a way that we believe is around justice for students, for staff, et cetera. So that's where our conversation ended. So we'll be picking that back up next week. And so it was great that we had the opportunity to take a look at this. I think it sparked some really good conversations, very thoughtful conversation. Not a stamp of like, yeah, policy on educational equity, go do it. It's really digging in and getting some good feedback. So that's an update, and we look forward to hopefully being here at the next
I have a question. What, you say you're working with someone, or are you working with an equity, educational equity center or something? You said-
For the coaching. And so Upbeat, the survey, and I just want to add to the survey was purchased by the Western Regional Educator Network. And it was purchased for the entire region. So we're using Upbeat, as are many of our districts. But it comes with, the purchase comes with, you know, viewing the information that came in via the survey and then linking, you guys talked about the 3 different areas, but linking certain personnel with a coach from Upbeat to talk about working on the areas that are, you know, of some.
They can highlight the data down to, say, a supervisor in special education that only works in Springfield. We can see the staff in Springfield that report to her that she supervises, how that relates with the job retention, job happiness, you know, all that sort of thing. So we can go that small into seeing and then be able to disaggregate down to demographics and data, as well as going out and look at the whole SPED department. So you can come in and out, and that's part of the way that the coaches are working with all of our supervisors, all the way up to a director who may be looking at the program admin, and the program admin will be looking at all the classroom teachers, classified staff.
Have you got any questions lately about the Lane apps that used to be here, the Black Student Success Funding? There's some communication going on out there in the community. But look out, and you probably haven't even been notified.
Was there any, I believe there's an email came, that I read earlier this week, so something came my way, but I haven't responded.
I'll chat with you.
Listen. So I think with the, we got the survey, we've got real high level here. After a DEC chance to look at it more closely, and we do want to share more of, okay, what were the things that came out of that have, you know, highlights for the agency, and what things are things we were digging into, including how are we doing. I think that's the step. And what I like about it is incorporating this, what used to be the EAC into now the DEC. And again, giving them something, this new format that they're in, giving them a real, not that it wasn't responsible before, but a real concrete, I say a more concrete responsible in terms of advising us as we're going forward. I think there was before advice and then necessarily not consent. And so Eric's gonna work really hard to build that connection. This is a good concrete example of getting forward. And again, bringing them to our next meeting. We're behind our timeline. We're kind of hoping to have them at the table at this meeting, but the goal now is for March. Introducing them to you and hearing from them as well as us.
Yeah. Okay, the next item is for me, just to update you on what's going on with the superintendent search. And this has all been in the timeline, but I'm just telling you, it would be helpful. The recruitment phase where they're trying to get good candidates in is ongoing and will continue until February 13th, which is when the position closes. So that's coming right up. After that happens, the consultants will conduct preliminary interviews with the applicants who meet the qualifications for the position, and will make one telephone reference call for each candidate who gets an interview. On February 17th, this is where your ears prick up, because this is when it starts something we have to do. There's going to be a meeting, a big meeting on February 23rd from 5 to 7 p.m. When we will be being presented with the slate. On the 17th, so that's 6 days earlier, we will first have access to the information that they've gathered. That information will be the preliminary interviews that the consultants did, reference checks, and I'm supposing written applications. So they say be sure to schedule some time between the 17th and the 23rd to access that information and, you know, start looking at it so that we're ready for the meeting on the 23rd. What we've been doing lately, in addition to trying to get candidates, is working on the confidential community interview panel. You remember we decided we were gonna have one of those and who was gonna be on it. And so Tony and Robin Bean and I have worked on this and came up with 13 people who are going to be on this panel. There will be 4 superintendents, 1 large and 3 mediums or small, 2 licensed staff and 2 classified staff. And in each of those, 1 will be picked to make sure we're getting a diversity of programs, and 1 will be chosen by a lottery. There will be 3 administrators that are picked: the head of special ed, the head of school improvement. We don't know which one of those they'll do. We're gonna let them work that out. And the business manager. And there will be a community partner from higher ed. That would be either someone from LCC or the University of Oregon, and a community workforce partner. And I think that that is also someone who's a specific person who will be chosen. So those people are going to be recruited, and they will interview the candidates, sort of come out as the top candidates to give us feedback. There is a letter going out tomorrow under my name to the employees, saying what's going on and inviting people who are interested in participating in this community interview panel to put their names into the lottery. So that's what's going on. It says Maria will be providing a hard copy of a confidentiality affidavit for us to sign at tonight's meeting. And Nora, you can complete it using an online link that Maria will provide you.
What's the affidavit?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What's the affidavit? What's the sworn affidavit? Are we raising our right hand?
Like an NDA.
It's a sworn affidavit.
It's I think you're signing your life away.
Yeah, sworn to the truth. Yeah.
Being maintaining confidentiality.
Well, we've never done that before. So now we're gonna do this. Oh, that's gonna be great.
I think we have signed in a previous search that was an expectation.
It is.
Well, we all
paper
agree.
We never signed.
We all agreed that would be, I don't know why they're doing that.
I mean, neither, but it's good.
We've done that practice in our internal
This is not
HR processes.
whether everybody will do it or not. It's a good thing.
I have a question. I'm sorry, the part of the screen where I can usually raise hands is not there. This meeting that's on the 20, that's in person at Lane ESD?
No, the 23rd is all virtual.
It's a virtual meeting from 5 to 7 p.m.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
While Maria's doing her thing, I will talk to you about the next item on the agenda. Maria has looked back and determined that last year at this time, we embarked on board self-evaluation. And before we put it on the calendar, I thought we should probably talk about this, whether you all feel like you have enough on your plates right now to delay this, or whether you want to tackle doing this as well. And so this is literally a discussion item.
Question?
Yep.
I know there was some legislation that looked like it was gonna require this, but I don't believe it passed. So do we have any legal obligation?
Do I know the answer to this?
I don't think you do. At least I don't think you have to do it annually, which you've done it. I think we did it last year. So I can double check that.
I would guess the question is not, are we gonna do it at all, but do we have to do it now, or could we, for example, wait until April? When we're going to have chosen a superintendent?
Yes.
That would be, that's real, I think this is a question of timing, not whether we do it at all.
Okay,
Though I think there have been some years when we haven't done it at all.
definitely.
That's true.
I do think it's a good practice.
Yes, and you've been a real leader in finding things for us to do and.
You're welcome.
No, I saw the forms and I went, oh, that was good, Rose, that was really good. It's just a question of timing. What's your pleasure?
I think later.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of.
We're pretty busy until March, something like that.
You okay with that, Thomas? Linda?
I'm okay with any time. I'm ready to do it anytime, but later is fine.
Okay, so Maria, how about if you put this on the, the March meeting is gonna be really a scurry before the super. So put it on the April meeting and have the sample forms and stuff so that we can, and we'll send them out in advance so that we can be prepared in April to decide, are we gonna do it now and are we gonna use this and sort of get going on it, so we actually do it. Does that be okay?
Sure, so to confirm, to have all the material ready at the March meeting, but that we would look towards the April
No,
meeting.
don't have it at the March meeting, have it at the April meeting.
Very good, sure.
No, we're gonna be busy in March.
Yes, usually it requires a work session,
Yes.
so.
We-
it's
Yeah,
like-
we may very well have a work session in April.
Well, and then we have budget, we have like, so
I was gonna-
you'll figure it out,
Yeah,
but we may
I need
have,
to schedule me.
yeah,
Okay, that was a tentative request,
Okay.
okay?
yeah, you'll figure it out, I mean, just, you might have to have a longer work session or something if we have to cover two topics. And guys, we're getting close to being done with policies. One more, we've got two more policy thingies, one tonight, and then your fearless committee is going to do KL next time, and that's done. It stops it out, who knew the alphabet stopped it out?
So to confirm, you've received the third part of section J, the last part of
Jay
section
was
J.
really, really long.
And then this is on first read.
Yeah.
So this is the ones you're looking at. If you have any questions or concerns. It's a great thing if you can tell someone beforehand, so maybe we can come up with a solution, but if we can't, we'll do it at the next meeting.
So it looks like we'll have two more meetings where we'll
We'll
have
have
first
two.
reads next meeting, and then the second reading meeting after that.
And so really April,
Yeah, well,
when
then
we're
we'll
actually
probably,
finished.
and we still have some to clean up.
We have some, you'll see the ones that are listed.
And we still have a whole bunch that are pending for
On hold.
reasons that are not our fault.
Right, some of them are on hold, most of them. are.
To celebrate, we should plant several trees. We owe.
We should also give Maria a present.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, Tony.
I lost track, I think you already took the section J, rest of the policies and pending policies are listed there.
Yes.
I'm not gonna read all those, but you can see the ones that are on hold from those today, and then Eric's gonna get the educational equity policy that's still on hold with the DEC's, and then give us, advise us on. And then information from administrative staff is number 9, and we have written reports for school improvement, special ed, and instructional technology. There's a board member report there from Dr. Kent. And then, looks like, board chair, you have agenda planning, board member reports and advisors and liaisons.
Yeah, the agenda planning is that if you have anything you'd like to have on the agenda, please let Tony or Maria or me know, but really Tony or Maria. And then, the advisors, Ms. Brownell,
Okay.
Superintendent?
I know. But I was going alphabetical.
Oh.
Oh, I'm not going
No, you didn't.
alphabetical. How
Lady.
about I was looking in that direction?
Okay. Let's see. So thankfully, our district has not had to deal with the cuts that other districts have had to make. So we'll celebrate that for a minute. Obviously, we know that's on the horizon possibly for next year, especially because freezing our enrollment at pre-fire levels funding for the pre-fire enrollment levels is not gonna be continuing after this year. So we've really, that's really helped keep everything that we needed. More housing is coming online out there. I don't know that it's getting filled or that it's gonna actually put kids in seats in our school. One of the things that we are doing is, so I fell into the board kind of thing also from being a parent in the PTO. And one of the projects that I thought would be good would be to have a weekly column in our little rural newspaper. And my kind of motto is, the community needs a school and the school needs a community. So because our superintendent, Lane Tompkins, is no longer driving a bus, he's now gonna play journalist. And he's gonna be writing these columns, but I mean, we can't let that happen. So I had ideas for this project before, you know, getting students an opportunity to be published because we don't have a school newspaper or anything like that. You know, highlighting new staff or staff who are awarded some recognition. So we really need to kind of support and nurture our connections in the community and our partnerships. If we do a bond in down the future, like we're gonna need people around us to know what we're doing and that we are worth it. So that's kind of just one way we're gonna get that message out and, you know, let people know about sports events or things they can attend. And if anybody's free, I think it's the 13th, we're doing donkey basketball. Fundraiser. Right, good times.
Real donkeys?
Yes, there's donkeys involved.
And there's a cleanup
Bonkers.
You said like you know.
Super
Oh,
fun.
no, yeah, they were up there when we went to the board meeting, it was cool.
It's like, how do they get their hooves on the ball?
Yeah.
Very talented donkeys.
This was decent. Oh, I mean, it's a long year. $30 million of cuts has been a lot. So tomorrow night we'll be voting on the third phase of budget reductions, and that's going to be difficult. There's just no other way to say that. It's going to be very difficult. So we'll see what happens.
So are you experiencing like having to do mid-year layoffs and things like that in Springfield is, or is it a different?
No, they'll all start next year. So staffing is maintained through the rest of this year, but will have to be for next year. You know, the superintendent has already announced the restructuring of the, you know, less assistant superintendents and restructuring of, that was the first level of sort of restructuring upper management. But yeah, so it's going to be very difficult, and we've had a lot of impassioned pleas from parents and community members, and it's going to be very painful. You know, we just got graduation data, and it was not super rosy for us. I mean, we had 2 of our comprehensive high schools graduation rates dropped last year. However, we did see gains in like, you know, graduation rates of students with disabilities, which is great. So some of our, you know, really more at-risk marginalized students actually saw a gain. We did see some decreases at North and at Churchill. So I'll be really curious to sort of find out what was happening there. That's not the hope that or not the news that we had hoped for, because many of our surrounding districts had improvements in graduation rates and ours dropped. So we're really interested to see where that goes. And it's hard, you know, it's CTE month, and we have just had to make major changes to the CTE programs in our district. So, you know, we had Kelsey, which had a space downtown Eugene, and that's where some of like Creative Currents and, you know, some of the other programs ran out of. But it's really difficult for us to be able, longevity-wise, to maintain that. And so, you know, now our CTE programs are going to be based at high school. So like Future Build is very successful. It's staying at North. Future Build is fine, but you know, some of these other programs are going to be going over into Sheldon and South, and it's going to drastically change how these programs work. And you know, there was just an article in the Register Guard about our Humanitech program, which, you know, basically we had a student that was nonverbal, unable to ambulate. You know, the Humanitech program literally takes these young students and these older students, and they help these kids be able to mobilize, be able to play, be able to communicate. So, you know, they basically took a kid's toy Jeep, modified it so the student would finally, because to try to, like, I'm a physical therapist, to try to get a kid a power wheelchair, which costs as much as some cars, and you're not entirely certain that the student's going to be able to drive it. This gives them an opportunity to start learning how to actually use the technology and drive it. And he is able to now engage with his classmates, like at recess and stuff. So it's amazing. They just featured this, and here's a program that we just had to radically alter. And it's crushing because we know the statistics and how CTE improves graduation rates. So it's hard. There's definitely some bummers for the district. I know there are good points, like, having the lawsuit, be successful was one of our few positives, but I don't know. The one thing I can say is that our new superintendent, Dr. Mickelson, has managed to be just sort of the epitome of calm and grace and compassion in a very difficult time. And I'm just so thankful for her leadership right now. We also did just finish successfully bargaining with OSEA. So 3-year contract that was just ratified. So that is a positive I forgot to mention. That was great.
So that's with OSEA?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
I did have an opportunity for an event at North Eugene last week. What a beautiful school of property that is.
No, right?
It's amazing, yeah.
It's so
My alma
interesting.
mater.
Yeah.
When you see the attendance rates at the old high school and then the attendance rates after we built the new high school, oh my gosh, kids wanted to be there.
More
The
proud.
attendance immediately, just participation in the CTE programs, like.
Yeah, they were making little homeless huts. Yeah. All different colors. It was really neat to see.
It is so cool. And apparently, I mean, in like, I don't know, 40% of my patient caseload is unhoused. And so, now we have the Everybody Village, which, Future Build is building the small huts for things like Everyone Village. And then because of one of the structures that Future Build built, now Everybody Village is able to have a medical health center there.
Wow.
And so it was really cool because they were able to get, the students were able to meet some of the medical staff and some of the patients that utilize it, that live there or that are staying there after their hospitalization. So it was really cool because the kids were able to see why your work matters in this community, which motivates them to show up to school every day. I mean, in one of our most successful programs with both attendance and graduation is Future Build. It's just
Which kind of go together, don't they?
yeah, absolutely.
And it was a beautiful school.
It is. Thank you, Eugene voters.
And our superintendent, honored guest tonight is Mr. Augustet.
Yeah.
From Marcola. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. First, thanks Tony for the invite. And I want to first say thank you to the board. I know how much work you guys do. We joke with one of my board members that when she volunteered to serve on our board, we said, well, it's about an hour a month. Lie to her. We all know, I didn't lie to her, that was my predecessor. And I joke with her every month, on just an hour, come on. But I appreciate, and I know the hard work that you guys do behind the scenes that is, realized in the classrooms that is not, I've never seen or acknowledged, but I acknowledge it. I just want to acknowledge all of you.
Thanks so much.
And it was,
so much for.
and my kids, I can't talk about my kids. I get too proud and too choked up like a proud papa. So I'm going to let that one go just because they speak for themselves on all that. My teacher, and Aaliyah, who's only an 8th grader, by the way, which is fabulous. My teacher recognized Andy Rice, who I did nominate for Teacher of the Year, and I hope that he knocks it and he gets the acknowledgement because he is a 22-year veteran in our district that has never once spotlight on him. It's always about his kids. So I think you got to see that tonight. But he texted me when he walked out. He's like, "Hey, the door's locked," and I forgot those other 2 board members. So I grabbed 2 other boards for my Mackenzie and U4J folks, and I'll let you guys hand those around to them. And we wanted to make sure. For the record, January was Board Appreciation Month, And so I just want to make sure that you guys got a token.
That's good, because we're still on a sugar high from the other stuff.
And I think the final thing I'll say, because I know you, I think have a hard 8 o'clock, and I want to respect that too.
It's not too
We're
hard.
we're very fortunate in our district. We have also analyzed and come up with different scenarios and pathways for whatever the budget's gonna end up being. It's out of our control, it's way above my pay grade to establish those things. But true and dear to our hearts are things like what you saw. And my board is committed, as much as I am, to pull strings, big borrow and steel to make things happen. We were joking, Andy is for hire. I will hire him out this July if it would help us bring the budget together and make some money for our district, but truly it's about our kids. So, thank you for the work you guys do.
Thank you.
Thanks for your.
So I have a question of you, Tony.
Yes.
Last night when we went to South Lane, they're to balance the budget or help with the budget, they're doing cut days.
Yeah.
Is there any other districts that are talking about that?
No, I think at the last superintendent
What
council
is it
meeting,
Cut days.
like furlough
Like
days.
for.
I mean, just like no school.
Yeah, we used to do
So-
that in the old days.
Yeah, so
When we
South,
didn't have snow days.
so South Lane was looking to furlough staff only days and not student in school days, but their budget was such that they needed to cut one in school day. So they were talking about that at their meeting last night. This came up at our last superintendent council meeting, and I don't recall other districts saying something there.
This is
And, one more, okay, so
Baby girl.
apparently, yes, I used to love, apparently. And I think there are some other districts that are making mid-year cuts. That's kind of the way some are doing it. We've seen Springfield's making some. And I think all of our districts, but one are either kind of status quo enrollment or dropping enrollment. Polk County's going down in enrollment. Of course, that's going to indicate where funding's going to go for the ESD and for others. But I think one of our small districts, Crow, is the only district that's really growing. They're really growing, but they're so small, their growth is still not on the radar for the drops that we're seeing in our bigger districts and even some more middle-sized districts.
I know that we had brought up before, Jay, like, is furlough, days even an option? And they were like, no, because it's just kicking the can down the road. When you have a $30 million hole, doing furlough days will help us 1 year, but it's just continuing, so it was one of those things where it was like, no, for us, it could not, it would be like putting a Band-Aid on a hole in a dike, like, it would have just not, but I mean, we entertained it for about 45 seconds, but realizing that it's.
Besides which, Oregon has some of the shortest school years in the whole country.
Exactly. Yeah.
But most of our budget is salary.
Yeah, that hurts. Sorry.
Could you put that on the record? Most of our budget is salary. Did you hear that? Wow.
That's probably true everywhere though.
It is.
I'm sure
It's
that's
what-
true everywhere.
Tends to be 80% plus.
Yeah, that's why some people started to talk cutting that budget, right? That's where the high pay, most of it is budget, big salaries.
You're on a roll.
Oh, I think it's your turn with the announcements, correspondence announcements.
I don't do that.
Oh,
Spring conference.
there's a spring conference?
I don't know how else that is.
I don't see spring conference.
Oh, well,
Item
11,
C.
on the board anyway.
11C, okay, 11B CT2, we already got that 11C spring conference. Please let Maria know if you haven't already about your attendance at the spring conference. You have rooms reserved.
We do.
And we just need to know registration.
So hopefully you'll have collected your availability for the spring, May 13th through the 15th. Yes, I got you.
You got me.
Yeah.
This year, last year, I think board members had to sign up on the app didn't allow for you to do it. Do you know this year? I don't know if this year.
You know what? I remember reviewing that and I think that that's the case. You're right. Yep.
So if we can still know which members want to show up, we can help.
Certainly, and if you need help with that, I'm happy to set up some
Why are
office
they doing
hours
that?
and you can
It's
talk
just,
through that.
the app doesn't allow
Well,
for.
change apps. I mean, the app is not a rule.
Is there a second?
I guess if we become the fiscal agent, they'll be our fault.
We'll get some of the students to make an app and we'll.
That's why we want to be the fiscal agent.
Right.
All right, I think that's
I'm fine
everything.
with it if we just don't find out that there's some awful thing.
Just, and Tony, you're gonna go, right?
Yes.
Because they're gonna make a big old thing about you, so, you know. I know,
So
but they were
Latino, I
like,
think.
everyone be sure to turn in your confidentiality affidavit to
Oh,
Maria, please.
I was gonna turn it in, before I turn it in, can I talk to them since they put the word, they didn't put it anywhere else, but they sure put it on here, ethics that I mentioned as our criteria. Should I call them before I turn, can I call them before?
You can, absolutely, so if you'd like, you can email Robin. You all have, I mean, I'm happy to give you her email address as well.
Oh, no, I can
You're
get-
welcome
I
to.
can get a hold to them.
Okay.
I get a hold to them before I sign, and talk about ethics and the process. I don't-
And if you're not able to return the signature form to me, there is a link for those, and I'm happy to send that, the same link I'm gonna send to Director Ken to be able to sign that online. So there's an
Okay.
alternative way if you're not ready to sign it today.
Okay, I'll talk to them and I'll hand deliver it, I'll give it to Tony.
That's great, that's fine. And if you do have it signed, please give it to me and I can scan it and send it on to HCE.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
Yes.
regular sessions.
Yeah.